Welcome back to the Flex League, and thank God it's almost over. Let's talk updates after the first round of fantasy football playoffs. Starting off, two huge updates going into NFL's last two regular season weekends. Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence's injury reports are sure to put fear in a bunch of playoff teams, and possibly worse if they miss substantial time. Let's see if any of our TFL owners can take some questions from our sideline reporter, Brianna.
Thanks, Todd. I'm Daniel, and I'll be filling in for Brianna this week. And I'm here with AJ, Jerry, and Dalton, who I'm sure at least all have words for one of our championship contenders. Speaking of, it turns out Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts are both on Julian's team. Hurts is the less likely to suit up. So are we looking at a massive drop-off for Julian's QB slot to start the championships?
So Julian really has like the best insurance policy in football, in fantasy football at least right now.
Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback to have, even if you don't have Jalen Hurts. The fact that Julian gets to choose between those two guys, it's just what we've come to, boys. I mean, he's got a stacked QB room. I mean,
yeah, no, I think honestly, Trevor Lawrence isn't a drop off at all. But like, I agree with AJ. Everything that Trevor Lawrence has done for this team, especially, I just want to go out on the cliff and say, I chose the Jags to win the division. Like, you know, the AFC South was pretty sorry. I just kind of figured the Titans were going to taper off a little bit. So I'm kind of like, you know, going to pat myself on the back for that. But, yeah, no, I think you hit everything on the head, honestly. Like, the receiving talent that they put around him at the beginning of the season, they definitely overpaid for Christian Kirk. At least so I thought at the beginning of the season. But he's panned out well. He's showing, like, wide receiver one capabilities, along with splitting with Zay Jones. Then you have Travis Etienne to kind of take the pressure off of the passing game. So, like, everything in Jacksonville is just coming together at the right time.
Interesting points. Back to you, Todd.
Julian really owns Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts. Jesus. And god damn it, we're off to another circle jerk of one of Julian's players. Cam Akers has been playing out of his mind recently, putting up as many as 3 touchdowns in a single week. Let's see if any of our owners think he's worth a start.
Obviously, Julian has McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and Kamara. If one of these guys were to go down, though, would you feel confident starting Cam Akers? I mean, he even has Brian Robinson on his bench, who's projected 13 this week. Like, could you trust someone like Cam Akers in a fantasy football playoff matchup if you need to start him?
I'm going to say no. Only because, like, I'm looking at who the Rams are playing.
all of a sudden, he's a fantasy league winner. So if one of those guys gets hurt, like you said, Jerry, I don't think Julian's going to have a lot of faith to trust Cam Akers, but recency, I mean, history's a good teacher. The recency bias that we have with Cam Akers is pretty good. So, but yeah, unless one of those guys gets injured.
And of course, the man doesn't even need to start him with CMC, Kamara, and Dalvin Cook. This league's a joke. Can we please talk about literally any team other than Julian's? I don't care if Vin isn't ever available for statements.
Hey Todd, I'm actually here with a word from the boys about the one weakness on Vin's team. And the thing is that he could just fix it all by starting Dawson Knox. What is he doing on Team Tua Legit's bench?
He has been on Vin's bench those past few weeks as well. He's currently starting Greg Dulcich, Dulcich on the Broncos. Is this really like a tough choice to make, or do you think Dawson Knox should be the guy
Tough
that
choice.
you just... What do you think? I mean,
here's my thing, man. Like I have the front row seat to this because I just played them in the playoffs. When I saw he was starting Greg Dulcich, I was like, oh, like this is gonna be fine. And of course, Dulcich has like 14 points or whatever it was. He hasn't started Dawson Knox. I've checked Vin's team week after week for the past month. He hasn't started Dawson Knox in like a month.
No idea why.
I'm so confused. The man plays for one of the best offenses in football. Meanwhile, you have a guy who doesn't even know who his quarterback or his head coach is right now. So I have no clue for the fantasy, like for the championship, if he's actually going to ride Greg Dulcich because the Broncos have nothing else to play for. But Dawson Knox in a playoff game, I think we were talking about this too. He has a better chance of starting someone in a close game where there's going to be important touches and targets than in a game that doesn't have any meaning that you might rest guys, right? So I actually think, Dante, to use your argument about the playoff feel, the playoff feel might be more helpful to start Dawson Knox because that's one of Josh Allen's go-to.
I mean, he had 14 points this last week. It seems like he's going to have a decision to make whether Dulcich against the Kansas City Chiefs, which could be, higher scoring game, versus Dawson Knox against the Bengals playoff feel.
Mr. Let's Ride, that whole shit show that's going on in Denver, like, I am sick and tired of even talking about any player on that offense. Like, shout out to Greg, man. He's balled out. I've been trying to pay attention to what he's been doing the past couple games because I'm like, who the hell is he throwing to? Why haven't I seen this guy? I heard about him 6 weeks ago.
Well, good to know he has a shot. So this is normally the part of the episode where AJ has some good news to share for the fantasy owners. But he did lose his shot at revenge against Julian by dropping to Vin and Team Too Legit to quit. AJ?
Ramondre Stevenson. For the love of everything. What the heck happened? This man gave me 5 points. Kudos to Vin, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They all cashed out. Right, I was screwed at that point when the Dolphins and Packers game was going on. Ramondre Stevenson, that guy is going to be on the list now of people that I am going to be very, very, very hesitant to trust.
Not exactly what I would call good news. Maybe we'll check back in later. And good lord, it's about that time for Julian's court-appointed dose of fantasy therapy. He's been out sick, so let's see if we can get anything from him too.
This is normally fantasy therapy, so I'm going to give you just one piece of fantasy advice, okay? Don't play any of my goddamn teams. Listen, I'm about to do to Vinny's team what I'm going to do to Strep Throat, okay? His team ain't shit. My man drafted 2 Dolphins receivers and bet the house on Josh Jacobs. Your luck is gonna run out, buddy. My other advice is try to swindle your dumb teammates into taking your late round successful droppings into Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. Yeah, they might be performing under the radar 1 week, but they're Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook, you dummies. This is Julian signing off.
God, we need him to be taken out. Now, before we get some final statements and predictions from our owners on the horn, we have a shift in the standings. After a stunning upset in the consolation bracket round, Dante is officially out of range of the last place spot. Now it's down to Jerry and Dalton to duel to the death. How's Jerry feeling?
Jerry, Todd's right. You're coming off of another brutal loss with some awful punishments waiting for you. Should the big boot come, how are you holding up?
I don't lose. Guess what happened this past week, guys? I fucking won. I don't know how I won. Dalton actually almost came back in week 2, but I ended up winning in total, so I escaped being the last place loser in
There you
this
go.
league.
If I lose to Dalton this week, I am going to be
You have
so
2 weeks. You have 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a 2 weeker.
It's 2 weeks total, so you have time.
So it's 2 straight games against that motherfucker.
Yeah.
All I'm going to
That's
say,
what I just had to do. That's what I just had to do.
I don't know. I'm projected to win right now. Even despite me not making any major moves, I'm projected to win by like 12 or whatever it is. If I still end up losing, which could very much happen, because I'm still not that confident in some of these matchups, like Joe Burrow having to play the Bills is making me nervous. But Joe Burrow shows up in big games. Sorry, AJ, but he does show up in big games. So I'm kind of optimistic. Keenan Allen being back on the field has helped out Justin Herbert's game. And obviously Keenan Allen's been putting up numbers. But playing with Mike Williams, Justin Herbert's QBR goes up by like 10%. When there's two elite receivers on the field, and Keenan Allen's getting both of those targets. He's the number 1 receiver, so I'm feeling kind of good about that, but the Cowboys defense has been kind of leaky as of late. They just got 34 put up on them by Gardner Minshew. I don't know, man. Like I'm actually pretty damn nervous. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Simply put, man. Simply put.
You have no idea how happy I am that I'm not involved in this losers like last game or anything like that.
Well, I do. I know. Trust me.
I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved. I saw my name on that wheel one too many times this year. I could not do it again, Jerry. I'm sorry.
I don't want to be the biggest loser. I want to win. That's all.
Best of luck, Jerry.
Okay, and one thing left on the docket, no use delaying. Let's get some final words and prediction on Vin and Julian's championship clash. They've faced off multiple times already, and Vin definitely wants his own revenge on Lisa Wilson's friends. How we feeling, boys?
You know, I think the outcome that we all feared from the start of this league is that the Rage Monster was going to end up in the finals and now has a pretty damn good chance to win it. And honestly, I'm actually pretty depressed that AJ didn't beat Vin. Like, I really was rooting for AJ to get.
I was so upset when I went on fantasy and I saw that you lost, AJ. I genuinely was heartbroken.
This shit really hurts, bro. Cause like, you know, I thought Vin was kind of like taper off a little bit because I beat him in like the last couple weeks of the regular season. I'm like, oh shit. Vin is not going to the finals. Whoever plays him in the first round is probably going to beat him by a comfortable like 10 to 15 point margin. But like the fact that, you know, your fate was sealed when the offensive coordinators in New England are Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. We don't even know who's calling the offense in New England.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my predictions for who I think is going to win, I don't know who I really want to win, to be honest with you. I don't really have... Do I want to see Julian win? No. But, like, where's Vin been? No offense to Vin, but where's he been? You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I hope that both guys have fun. That's what I hope. I hope there's just good competition.
Yeah, it's been a ride, boys. It's been this kind of feels like the Broncos season, doesn't it? It's just been one crazy ride. Where we now
TFL, let's ride.
Yeah,
TFL country, let's ride.
We now have to potentially see Julian bring home the fantasy championship. So here's to you, Vin. Let's beat this man and end this once and for all, so we don't have to worry about this anymore.
And with that, a clash of the Titans, a desperate battle for survival. All that and more on the season finale of the Flex League.